Hey guys, I'm Rishi Prasanna. I am in month 9 of my MS in Game Design program, and this is my final project for the Advanced Design Workshop with Professor Justin Gallo. And I did something pretty cool with this one, so I feel pretty stoked to share it. So I created a prototype, and this prototype I actually modeled a speeder, a racing speeder, based off this is Greg the Bug's Blade speeder from my sci-fi comedy book series, and Greg the Bug is one of my main characters, and he uses a very unique blade speeder in which he has a blade at the underside of a speeder which can be retracted and revealed. What does that mean? Well, we're going to be seeing what that means in just a little bit. So first, before I get into it, yeah, I had to restart twice doing this because, this was actually pretty difficult for me for two reasons. First off, I have never messed with blueprints and programming ever in UE5 before. I know how to program in Unity, but in Unreal Engine 5, I'm much more, familiar with the environment art, the environment design with the Quixel stuff, the audio, and even stuff like lighting. I'm much more familiar with that in Unreal Engine 5. I've never even touched blueprints and programming before. And so I kind of had to go through the your first hour with Unreal Engine again just to learn the blueprint stuff, because there was a chapter on blueprints in that course. And I had to do that. I had to learn that all over again from scratch. And the second reason is I tried different templates for UE5, and none of them seemed to work until I finally settled on the third person character template. The blank template didn't work because it didn't give you anything, okay? You had to code your own acceleration, your own physics. I tried doing that to no success. Even though I knew C++, I did not know how to use C++. Excuse me. I did not know how to use it in Unreal Engine 5. And in my second attempt, with the vehicle template, this one was actually much more promising because it had acceleration and physics already coded in for you. And it also had things like a speedometer and lap count. And it started out with a car model, and I thought, okay, just switch out the car model for my alien speeder model. And then I quickly realized the vehicle template is also no good. The reason it's no good is because it has a very weird vehicle character class, which nobody that I knew about. And I didn't know about it, and I didn't see any tutorials on YouTube for the vehicle character class going into detail. Any good tutorials, that is. And so, yeah, and the worst part about the vehicle character class is it was presenting me with nodes such as let's turn on the headlights or the front lights. Let's increase the suspension in the tires and stuff that is related to Earth vehicles like cars, vans, trucks. Yeah, it was using an Earth car. It was using a car that was made on Earth. And my alien speeder, well, it's an alien vehicle. It doesn't have wheels. It has completely different drifting. And it flies through the air. So it's completely different from the vehicle. Yeah, it's completely different from what I wanted in the vehicle character class. And the vehicle character class, I had to go in and try to untangle stuff, untangle the nodes, and try to find the stuff that was important. Eventually, I just gave up on it because it was too much like trying to pick out the meatballs from spaghetti. I don't know how hard that is, but yeah, that's the best analogy I could come up with. Finding the needle in the haystack, right? That's better. That's a better analogy. Now, the third attempt, I asked one of my programmers in my indie games game team for Pigeon. I asked one of the programmers for advice, and they told me to use the third person character template. And At first I was all like, wait, what? Why are we using third-person character template for a racing game? Right? I have to build the finish line on my own. I had to do that kind of stuff on my own. I ended up not building certain things like the speedometer and stuff, but then I quickly realized, wait a minute, we can set my speeder, we can switch out the humanoid model, player character, for my alien speeder, and we can set my alien speeder to fly, and that way the speeder actually can fly. The drifting ended up coming super intuitively. The turning and everything came intuitively. And as a bonus, we didn't just need to use the arrow keys. We could use the mouse as well to steer. So that ended up being perfect for me. So, eventually, I did use the third-person character template, and I was finally successful. I was finally successful with getting this project to work, this prototype to work. So now let's get into the mechanics. To start things off, W accelerates the player forward. So we're using the keyboard here, right? The computer keyboard, the QWERTY. Anyway, W accelerates the player forward, and S turns the speeder around and accelerates it backwards, aka towards the camera, instead of away from it like W does. And the mouse position, the position of the mouse on the screen, is also used to steer. But if you want to make a small turn without using, without changing the camera angle, you can press A to go left and D to go right, respectively. And it uses, like I said before, the flying mechanic for the third-person character to work. So here's what went into, creating the driving mechanics, right? Basically, don't worry about this health widget over here and this add to viewport. That we'll get to that in a bit. So basically we were casting to player controller, and we were like right here we were setting I'm setting the movement mode to flying. So because of that, the flying mechanic actually solved my issue. And now we can see that over here the camera is following the player, and this is pretty useful. And the movement input, it's also I actually changed it a little bit to include the pitch here, but I'm not sure if that even registered. Yeah, so basically in the settings of the project I just changed the hotkeys for moving forward, moving backward, etc. And next, let's go to health. Right as I say that, when the player hits a wall or obstacle, the player loses a bit of health. And when the health goes to 0, the game stops. But the player can also heal by pressing E. But how the hell do we know that? They see a health bar on the top left of the screen. So let's go back just for a second here. And so basically what I did is I created a health bar in Photoshop and imported it, and basically created a widget, a UI widget with the images of the full health bar and the empty health bar. And I interposed both images onto each other and kind of changed them depending on how much health the player had. So you can see that with this create health widget and add to viewport. And if we go over here, we also see the controls for taking damage and healing. So at the bottom here, this is a lot more simple. I created a variable, I created a float variable called health, and basically I set it to I set the hotkey to E over here, and basically it gets the health variable. So we're setting the health variable to health plus 10, but we need to cap it at 100%. Okay, so the health caps out at 100. So that's why for the min here, we set like is we need to find the minimum. Is 100 the minimum, or is the health the minimum? So if the health ever goes above 100, we just set it to 100. We just cap it at 100. So the health is over here. The health is over here. And sorry about that. There's background noise. And there's a top section over here, which is, on component begin overlap. And this is to detect whether you collide into anything, really. And basically, if you collide into anything, I did the same exact, these three nodes are the exact same, except this one is a minus node for 100. You could have actually just done a plus node and just said minus 10. And then you have to cap the minimum health for the player at 0, because that's 0 health. That's game over, right? So the health cannot go lower than 0, so we did that. And basically what we did here is we set a condition. If the health is less than or equal to 0, this we did less than or equal to instead of equals, and this is just to play it safe. If it's less than or equal to 0, then we just pause the game. We just pause the game. We don't do anything else. This is a prototype. We're not looking to do anything fancy. So we just pause the game, and that's how you know it's game over. If we were to expand on this prototype, we'll add an actual game over screen later. But that's not part of the mechanics for this project. And you can see over here, this is the health bar. This is the speeder, by the way. I did not even texture it. I was kind of rushing on this because I had to do a lot of research. And yeah, this is the health bar right over here. You can see this blue bar is the full bar, and this black part is the empty bar, or aka there's the health that you lost is on the right. The health that is there is on the left. And finally, the moment you've been waiting for, the blade itself. And so the blade, so the player can actually toggle retraction and revealing of the blade with space. So basically what this means is, this is going to be a lot more complicated than, this is going to sound a lot more complicated than it is. But there's a speeder with a sword that, it's kind of like a lightsaber, but it's not a lightsaber. It's a metal piece of, it's a metal blade that is underneath an actual like handle. And the handle is actually what is being, sped forward by the engines. And the handle is holding a blade, and you can retract and reveal the blade. Basically, you can keep the blade revealed on the bottom, or you can actually press space, and the blade will hide itself inside the handle. Inside the top half of the blade speeder. And if you press space again, the blade will reveal itself and come back down. And this is a pretty unique mechanic. And in practice, this will allow the player to dodge certain obstacles. So this is how this works. So we're setting it to the space bar, and we are actually using a timeline animation that is 0.2 seconds. And you can see that if it's false, I actually kind of messed it up there. So yeah, if it's false, I had to cross the wires there. But anyway, if it's false, the blade is revealed. The blade is revealed, and we can see that with the X and the Y's are unchanged, but the Z, we're increasing the Z value, I think, over here. Yeah, we're increasing the Z value here. And if it's true, if the blade is retracted, this means the blade is hidden. So we're doing the exact same code as up here. Instead, this is minus, and this is plus. Okay, I hope that made sense. And yeah, that's basically all of the mechanics. So to summarize, we had driving mechanics with W going forward, S to accelerate backwards, and you steer with the mouse. But you can also use A and D if you want to not change the camera. Then we had a health bar, which if you hit a wall, you'll lose some health. And you can heal by pressing E, so you gain some health back. And the player can see this using the health bar, which is top left of the screen. And last but not least, the player can toggle retraction and revealing of the blade with space, the space bar. And that's all the mechanics. So here are the references I used. I know it's few, but most of my learning was trying to figure out the freaking blueprints. And so as a bonus, I just provided the vehicle template for the racing game tutorial. The vehicle template for the racing game. The racing game tutorial that uses the vehicle template right over here, excuse me. How the health bar works. This is a cool tutorial on how to use the health bar system in UE5, right? Not health bar system, how you can create a health bar in UE5. Okay, so I'm in my other computer and I'm showing off the prototype right now. And if we remember what we recapped, let's just play it for a second. All right, so notice you can see a health bar on the top left there. If you press E, you can heal. And yeah, so for movement, you can move around. And notice I'm actually just moving the mouse. You can see that with the flakiness of my movements a little bit. I'm moving the mouse and I'm holding down W. Now if I hold down S, it's going to start going this way. And let's try to drive backwards here without taking damage. Oh, never mind. We just ran into a wall. That's funny. Now, here's the cool part. So this health bar works perfectly. If you hit a wall, you take damage. If you hit another wall, you take damage. You hit this wall again, you take damage. If you go away from the wall and then hit it again, you take more damage. And you can press E to heal. Heal that damage. And we'll show what happens when the health goes to 0 in a bit, but just to continue on track here, if you press space, the blade goes up. If you press space again, the blade goes down again. And it's a lot slower than intended, but it still does the job. Yeah, you can make the blade go up and down, and this is the whole crucifix. This is the whole crux of Greg the Bug's speeder. Is he has this thing where he can retract the blade, and yeah. And by the way, you can press A if you want to turn left and D if you want to turn right. And yeah, this is all relative to the camera, so yeah. Anyway, now let's just say you take a little bit too much damage here. Oof. Af. Oof. Af. Oof. So let's just say your health goes all the way down. Oof. Af. To 0. The game pauses on you. This is game over. Okay? And the game is pretty much frozen because I meant for it to be that way for this prototype. And so this would be game over. I don't know how to do UI stuff in Unreal Engine yet, so I didn't even bother with that yet. Plus, I had to research the mechanics. So yeah, that is how this, Greg the Bug speeder, the blade speeder, works. And the camera's face planting into a wall. Let's go around back to the character. Whee! Okay, there we go.